There are two numbers to answer question 6 rather. X is -2 and X is -6. There were no rejections. And number 6, the problem was a rational equation. Fancy word for an equation with fractions in it. We're going to use the LCD method to solve this. There are other methods, and if you're doing them fine and getting the right answers every time, then stick with that. But preferable, you should be using the LCD method. So the first thing you want to do is factor out this denominator and find the least common denominator of all of these numerators. You could even put this over 1 if you want. I'm going to do this as like 3 over 1. So the LCD between all of these is x plus 4 times x minus 4. Notice that every single term got it, including the 3. The next stage, the fractions will be goodbye. The x plus 4's cancel, and I'm left with, and the x minus 4's cancel, and I'm left with 12. Bring down the subtraction sign. The x minus 4 cancel, and I'm left with the 24 and the x plus 4. Nothing cancels here, simplifies. I hate to say the word cancel. It means simplify to 1. Now it becomes a little more complicated, really 10th grade question. Here's the 12. You're going to distribute this -24 to get -24x minus 96. Be careful there. That's the error that gets a lot of students. This, what I want you to do is, I did it over here. Distribute that first, and then distribute the 3. It really wasn't necessary to multiply the x plus 4 times the x minus 4 first. You could have multiplied the 3 first and then multiplied it out, but you would have gotten the 3x squared minus 48. So now we have a quadratic, and we're going to have to set it equal to 0. After I combine like terms, I add 24 to both sides, add 84, and I have this quadratic. There's a 3 there, so I always try and divide everything out by 3 to make my life easier. And everything is divisible by 3, so I divide it out. And I'm left with this factorable quadratic. AM trinomial factors of 12 that add to 8. Set each factor equal to 0, and I get my two answers of the -2 and the -6. But you can't go away from this without checking it. Anything that has fractions, you have to worry about division by 0, undefined values. They would get rejected as extraneous roots. Number 7 on topic 1 is another rational equation with fractions. This time it's set to the nearest tenth, and that was a hint the quadratic formula was going to come into play. So your two answers are 0.4 and -2.7. So for this particular question, the LCD, we're going to use that LCD method again, and that LCD method says you're going to multiply each numerator by the least common denominator of all the fractions. Again, you could put this under 1 if you want. You don't have to. Some students like to do it, some don't. You're going to multiply each numerator by x times x plus 3. X times x plus 3. Times x plus 3. What you're really doing is distributing that least common denominator to every term. You're keeping it balanced. So the x simplify to 1, you're left with just the x plus 3. The x plus 3 simplify to 1, you're left with just an x. Nothing simplifies here, so you distribute it to get your 3x squared plus 9x. This is a quadratic, so after I combine like terms, I'm going to set it equal to 0. And it would be nice if I could divide everything by that 3, but it's not happening. And when they told me that to round to the nearest tenth, I should have known better because it was going to have to use the quadratic formula. Make sure you write your coefficients clear over here. A lot of transposition errors are indeed made. Put it into the quadratic formula. Take the suggestions. When you do b squared, again, this is x equals -b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. When you do that b squared, square it yourself. When you're putting this into the calculator, don't put the radical in. Put this whole thing in, the discriminant, in one shot. When you get your 85 here, what you want to do is break it up. Break it up. This becomes just a calculator question. That fraction feature is very useful here. Type this in, round to the nearest tenth to get 0.4. Type this in, round to the nearest tenth to get -2.7.